Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. My name is Shailendra Yashwant, advise Climate Action Network South Asia. Today, I'm moderating this media briefing. We have Chandrabhushan, who is the Deputy Director General of Center for Science and Environment, India's biggest public interest research and advocacy organization. Last few days, there has been a lot of talk about India and coal, and Chandrabhushan is here to give India's perspective and a lot more clarity on what's happening with our coal story. So, Chandrabhushan.
Thank you, Shailendra. As Shailendra said, we are an environmental organization, and like any environmental organization, we do not like coal. But we also do not like gas, and we do not like oil. And we are clear that we cannot be selective about fossil fuels, which we think is the debate that is happening here at Paris. We can't say that coal is bad, but gas is good. And no one is talking about this here. We believe that today there is a concerted push towards gas in many parts of the world, also because of industry interest, which we believe is as dangerous for climate change as is coal. This press conference is to discuss facts about coal and coal use in India, but also in other parts of the world. I think it is important to demystify the issue of coal at Paris. Let me say that we too are concerned about coal use in India. We are therefore working to improve environmental performance of coal, both in coal mining as well as coal-based power plants. In fact, as I talk to you now, India is in the process of putting one of the most stringent environmental standards for coal-based power plants. This year, the government has come out with a policy, because of the pressure of the civil society, to decommission old coal-based power plants. So all the coal-based power plants with age of more than 25 years are being incentivized to close down. And this is one of the most aggressive scrapping, decommissioning policy in the world. Just to give you an example, the average age of coal-based power plant in the US is about 40 years. And some of the coal-based power plants in the US are of 60 years. So we know that coal, from our own environmental interest, we need to have stringent standards. We need to have some control to make sure that our local environment is not polluted. We also have pollution tax on coal. I don't know how many of you know, but we have green cess on coal, which is probably one of the first in the world explicit tax that a country has made on coal. The bottom line is that we have to continue pushing our governments to make sure that fossil fuels are reduced from now till 2050, and that. But on the other hand, we also have to make sure that people have access to energy. And India has a challenge of energy access. We have about 300 million people who don't have electricity. 70% of Indians cook food on biomass. So on one hand, we have to make sure that the polluting fuels are reduced. But on the other hand, we must have a global mechanism as well as national push to ensure that energy access is right at the top of the agenda. Now, coming back to discussion on coal at Paris, we are quite disconcerted with the language being used here. We believe that focusing on coal, and only on India is an unnecessary distraction. It is creating a lot of bad blood at Paris. If I can say bluntly, it looks like almost like a well-planned campaign to ensure that the issue of carbon budget, the need to take into account historical and equity issue at the climate debate here in Paris, is being treated as obstruction. Okay, so India's entire focus on equity and CBDR to counter that coal has been brought forward, which I believe is an unnecessary distraction. The fact is coal is being used and will continue to be used in many parts of the world, both in developed and developing countries, and that's what my presentation, I'm going to take short 10 minutes to give you an overview on coal use. Let's demystify coal use here. so that we have sanity in discussion. It almost looks like insane discussion that is happening on coal here at Paris. So just to give you some idea about how much coal and who is using how much coal. Now, if you look at this chart, you find that coal is a major source of energy in power sector across the world, both in developed and developing countries. Those who have gas, they have both coal and gas. Those who don't have gas have only coal. Both India and China fall in the second category. The availability of natural gas in India and China is low. We have more coal, we use coal. But if you look at countries like US has both gas and coal. About 68% of the power sector depends on fossil fuel. Japan, 73%, Germany, 55%, 87% of electricity in Australia comes from coal. In China, of course, it is 74%. In India, it is 76%. So the fact is that coal is a dominant source of energy across the world. It is not an Indian phenomenon or a Chinese phenomenon. How much coal is consumed? Now, if you look at it, of course, China is about 2 billion tons of oil equivalent coal consumption. The per capita coal use in China is about 1.4 tons. US is 1.5 tons. Australia is 2 tons. Canada is 0.5 tons. Germany, which is considered to be highly green in its electricity sector, consumes a ton of coal per capita compared to 0.3 tons in India. So I think we also need to have perspective on who is using how much coal. What will happen in future? I am going to take the example of US because we have studied US very closely, but we also have studied Europe, Germany, Australia. I could have given those examples, but this presentation is going to compare US and India. If you look at from 1990, frankly, coal use in US has not reduced. In fact, coal use in 2014 is more than what US used in 1990, about 830 million tons of coal. And on top of it, though the absolute number of coal has remained the same in the US, the gas is going up. US has found a bounty of shale gas, and therefore, shale gas use is exploding. And therefore, today, US consume more fossil than ever in its history. Now, this is also a fact. But the fact also in the US is the cheap shale has ensured that today coal-based power plants are uncompetitive. And therefore, you are building more gas-based power plant and less coal-based power plant in the US. I would like to give you some perspective on coal use in the US. If all the US power plant was considered a country, it would have been the third largest polluter of greenhouse gas in the world. And the top 50 US dirtiest plant would have been the 7th most polluted country in the world. So I think we need to get some perspective on who is using how much coal and who is going to continue in the future, and I'm going to come back to that. Let me give you some idea about India. If India does nothing, its emissions of coal will increase from about 600 million tons in 2010 to about 2,400 million tons in 2030. If we do nothing, business as usual, some energy improvement, we will reduce it to about 2,000 million tons. But with the policy that the government has now on renewable energy, about 40% of non-fossil fuel in 2030, we will reduce coal pollution by 800 million tons per year by 2030. I think that's a narrative to talk about. A country which has hardly any source of energy other than coal and renewable energy is going to put enough resource to reduce emissions from coal by 800 million tons in 2030 from business as usual scenario. That's a narrative that we would like to talk about here. What about US? Now, we all know about the Clean Power Plan of President Obama, which has been talked all across the world. But if you look at it, in 2030, US coal production will be same as what India is producing today, 600 million tons. And this is the analysis of US Energy Information Administration. In the most aggressive scenario, which is CPP extension scenario, which is not likely to happen, but that's the scenario, US coal production will be 600 million tons in 2030. On per capita basis, in 2030, US will continue to use close to 1.5 tons of coal. In 2030, And this is what US power sector will look like. 60% of electricity will come from fossils, which is marginally down to 65% in 1990 and 66% in 2005. So decarbonization is not happening in the US either. And I think that's a narrative that we need to talk about. We need to talk about the challenge of coal, not only in India or China, but the challenge of coal across the world. Let me just summarize this, that in 2030, the total emissions from coal-based power plant, total power sector in India will be about 1.5 billion tons, which is similar to what US power sector will emit if we assume that President Obama's clean power plan is extended till 2030. Per capita emissions from power sector in India will be about 1.5 tons compared to 4.5 tons in the US. Non-fossils in power sector in both India and US will be 40%. That's what the plan of both the countries are. But the fact is that all developed countries have plans to build or keep using coal. You look at Germany. Germany is in the process of building 8 gigawatts of coal. Japan, Canada, Australia, any country you look at, they are going to continue building new coal-based power plants from now till 2030. That's also a fact. This is the last slide before I come to what we want the narrative at Paris to be. What will be the renewables? What will be the contributions of renewables in 2030? Now, this is a chart of IRENA. And in 2030, Germany and India will have 30% of its total final energy from renewables. India and Germany. US will have 10%. China will have 20%. The world average will be about 21%. All this presentation is available. You can use it. But I just want to give you some idea that actually we are not leapfrogging to renewables as the plans of countries in INDCs look like. It is not only about India or China or US. Across the world, we are not making the kind of investments that we need to make in renewables. The last thing I want to make is because this is an additional point I want to make because a lot of journalists kept asking me in the last few days that rich Indians are going to burn the world, that we are going to make sure that the planet is fried. And I'm going to give you some idea about an unpublished study that we are doing. We are linking emissions to consumption, and this is a study that Center for Science and Environment is in the process of releasing. And we have done this comparison with Europe, European countries, as well as with the US. Now, this is a chart that tells you what is the per capita expenditure on major goods and services in the US, poorest American, richest American, and the cream de la cream of India, the urban 12th fractile class, which is 5% of the urban population. This is the average annual per capita consumption. If we convert it into carbon emission, this is what it looks like. The per capita emissions of top 10% of Indians is similar to the bottom 20% of Americans. I think it is very important to understand what we are discussing here in Paris. We are actually discussing this in Paris, that how do we address equity here at Paris. We think that the narrative should change in Paris. We need controls on all fossils. CBDR demands that those who have polluted in the past should reduce their emissions significantly. Those who are going to be future polluters must make sure that they reduce their pace of pollution increase. And therefore, US, EU, and other developed countries which have already polluted, we should make sure that they stop coal. India will stop coal if there is a leadership from developed countries. It cannot be that you can tell India to stop coal, but US to continue using coal. That's unfair. Okay? We need rapid transition to renewables across the world. We need to incentivize countries like India to move to renewables. We need to put billions of dollars in Global Renewable Energy Fund so that the poor of India and Africa and parts of South Asia can have energy access based on renewable energy. Energy access is as important as solving climate change. You cannot have a world and you cannot think that you can solve climate change by keeping large numbers of poor people in dark. Also, as environmentalists, we can't be selective. We need to put focus on all fossils. In India, as I said, we have coal cess, we have prior informed consent, and we are talking about benefit sharing with communities, better standards. We want to increase the cost of coal so that renewables will become affordable. The same narrative should happen across the world. We want our counterparts in the developed world also to do the same as we are doing. We can't keep promoting gas and say coal is dirty. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chandrabhushan. We'll take questions. We have 10 minutes. Yes, please, lady in front.
Dorit Seitz from Politik in Denmark. Where from do you feel that this negative narrative about Indian coal is emerging? Who is behind this message?
Okay, can we take more questions? Or?
Okay, we can take more questions and then we can address because we have 6 or 7 minutes left.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, 1 second. Vishwamohan, this.
Do you think this is something deliberate to divert the attention from the finance issue?
Okay.
Any related questions? Richard? Hi.
Hi, Richard Black here, writing for Business Green. The projections that we see from all countries, obviously, including India, you see plans for building so many coal plants. There was a very interesting report out earlier in the year by Coal Swarm. If you're aware of this, they sort of went plant by plant by plant across the world, and they found that, actually only a proportion of the planned plants ever get built, and in India it's only 1 out of 6 planned plants actually gets built. So what I'm wondering is, what faith can we actually put in these figures that we're seeing? Why should we believe that these big numbers of plants actually will get built?
And one more question from Chetan, and then we'll take another round. Yeah, right here in the front.
Hi, I'm Chetan from Hindustan Times, Delhi. I have a question that, do you think that the Indian government has not been able to project its side of the story on coal globally much before the COP started or much before the negotiations started? And because of this, India is facing some sort of a flag in Paris. Thank you.
Okay.
Do you want to answer these? We'll take second round of questions.
Second round?
Yeah.
Okay. I see this narrative in closed rooms. I see this narrative on Western media. Mainstream media is printing India's dirty coal. If you read, you find this narrative in this entire campus, that India and coal are the talk of the town, frankly, here right now. So this narrative is everywhere. Now, about Vishwa's question on, is this a deliberate attempt? I think there is no other issue to corner India than coal. This is quite clear. India has a very, very clear position on climate change, that equity and CBDR is important. And therefore, to bring the narrative that India is going to burn the world with the coal is the only counter narrative that is available. Okay, so I'm very clear, as I said, put it bluntly, this is a negative counter narrative which is not helpful here, and it will not be helpful. On the figures, I absolutely agree with you that these are the figures available on who is going to build and how much. Our experience has been that we planned in the last 10 years to build about 150 gigawatts of coal. We hardly could build 50 gigawatts of coal. Okay, so our past experience is very clear. But nevertheless, let's give the benefit of the doubt that everything will get built. Everything will get built, then how much will India's emissions be? Okay, then also the numbers are going to be much more manageable. And my sense is that by the time we reach 2030, if we do major investments in renewable, India will not have to build coal. And I think that's the narrative that we need to put out everywhere, that we need a situation where there is no economic rationale for India to build coal or in any other part of the world. Lastly, Chetan, I will, my comment on Government of India would be that yes, India has to put out its story on coal out much more clearly than it has done in the past. Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. The gentleman in front, but before that, the gentleman right at the back. And here, third row here.
Hi.
Let him start.
Okay, James George with EnviroBeat. I was just in India for 2 weeks, and the air is pretty bad. China's getting a lot of pushback from the population against coal because of the pollution. Is that true in India as well? Is there political? Also, James Hansen, he's a famous climate scientist, and a few others, they made a press conference yesterday recommending nuclear power for India. Is that part of the plan?
Can we take one or few more questions?
Yeah. Gentleman here, right
Yeah.
here in the front. Yeah. And then you. Yeah.
Erik Martinussen from Norwegian Daily Dagsavisen. You said that gas is as bad as coal, as coming from a huge gas-producing country. I wonder if you could explain a bit more about that.
Aruna, if you can go to the last slide, please, the end of the presentation. There is a slide, if you can put it up, yeah.
2 more questions. Yeah. One lady right at the back and one here. And one in the 4th row here. Perfect, sir.
Yes, please. Yes, please, you can.
Me? Okay. Hi, I'm Anjali Vaidya with The Wire. I just wanted to ask, given that India is one of the most climate vulnerable nations in the world, are there more productive strategies, perhaps, than a largely reactive one?
Okay.
And one from Daman.
Thank you. Very quickly, Mr. Shamsaran wrote on last Saturday about building a clean coal coalition across the nations. And this is a sentiment that has been also expressed by Ratin Royo and IPFP. So is there logic for that, so to you know, as part of country list?
Okay. Yeah. On air pollution, I think it is an issue in India. That's why we are, we have just, in fact, made our thermal coal power plant standards stringent by almost 80% and brought it to the level of the global best. We have the draft standards now. There is a public debate, and in a few days, I'm hopeful that those standards will come out. As far as nuclear is concerned, I think India has interest in nuclear, but I think there are cost issues, there are waste issues, and if India can, and of course the consent of the people. We are a noisy democracy, and consent of people is important. And therefore, if government of India can make sure that all those things are made, yeah, India can go ahead and build nuclear. I have no ideological issue against nuclear if they can produce nuclear energy as cheap as solar 10 years down the line. As far as gas is concerned, I want you to look at this chart. This is a chart which essentially shows that if the gas emissions, the leakage in the gas system from well to burner is 3%, the greenhouse gas performance of gas is as bad as coal. Okay? And this is an IEA chart. I can just give you an example. New York City loses 14% of its gas in the pipeline. Most of the pipeline in the Western world is leaking. If you go through the newspaper, and I was in Pittsburgh recently, gas pipelines are blowing up very frequently there. So leakage is an integral part of gas, and methane is a super greenhouse gas. So this is quite clear that we need to be really smart about what are we promoting. Are we promoting something? Are we jumping from one frying pan to another? I think that smart decision we have to make. Lastly, about are there smart alternative on the plate? I think India's initiatives on Solar Alliance is that smart idea. It is still growing. I think countries like India, developed countries, we all need to come together and invest massively in solar in the next few years, say 2020, 2025, so that we turn the table on fossil fuels. I think that's the smart alternative that is there. But again, renewables for what? Just to replace coal, or renewables for energy access and local economic growth? I think that narrative is also there, and we believe that we need a much more democratic narrative on renewable energy than what is being talked about right now. As far as clean coal is concerned, yes, Daman, till the time the world is going to use coal, let's use it much more efficiently. That's what the issue is. And it is quite clear to me, looking at the data, unless until something drastic happens, countries are going to continue using coal, maybe at a lower growth rate than today, for the coming 10 to 15 years. So clean coal, yes, of course. Let's do it much more cleanly.
Daryl, here in the second row.
Daryl DeMonte, independent journalist. Isn't the fact of 300 million people without access to electricity in India an overwhelming argument for continuing with coal till such time as the investments in renewables and improvements, I mean, there's no time to be lost, so to speak.
Okay.
Any more questions? No. Go ahead.
Okay, I think it's a good question to end with. Energy access is an overwhelming argument in India, whether we do it through renewable energy or we do it through coal. If India can afford through renewable energy, it should do it. But the fact is, you can give one bulb and one mobile charger to a poor and say your energy access is met. But our experience has been, we are a young nation. More than 65% of population is less than 35 years of age. We are an aspiring nation. And one bulb through one small solar panel and one mobile charger is not working. People are demanding aspirational energy. Okay? And therefore, that is one of the most pressing pressure for India to continue using coal. That is there. But I also believe that also is an opportunity for us to leapfrog. If we can make sure that those 300 million don't go to coal, but rather leapfrog to renewable energy, think the kind of climate saving that will happen. And therefore, I think world has to look at India as an opportunity, not as a threat. Okay? Here, the narrative is India is a threat. And I believe that India provides huge opportunity for the world to leapfrog fossil fuels. Okay?
Thank you. I just want to tell them about.
Yes. There are a few books here, and this is a book we actually MRV'd the United States. This is called as Capitan America, and sector by sector, what is happening in the US. Generally, developed countries MRV us. This is our initiative to MRV the climate policies of developed countries. You are most welcome to take a copy. And this tells you the reality about clean coal plan in the US. Thank you very much. Copies are here.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, it will be uploaded just now. Yeah. Hi. I'll just give you my card.